Hello and welcome to the Verity channel, where our aim is to bring you individuals who have achieved uncommon results in life and to speak to them and ask them what they did to achieve those results so that we can also implement those results in our lives in a way that makes perfect sense. Now, today on the show, we've got Mr. Eric Bailey, who is the author of 2 books, ex-professional basketball player and also public speaker who, as far as I'm aware, has changed the lives of up to 4.5 million people in his speaking career to date. His life didn't start off in this way because Eric was actually born with a debilitating bone disease, which led medical practitioners saying to him that he may not walk, let alone run. And if that wasn't enough, he was also abandoned at a young age when his parents actually put him up for adoption. However, Eric's life changed again when he went to school, and a basketball coach at his school took him under his wings and taught him the power of thinking about what is possible, not what is in the past. And it was this change that saw Eric not only finish his career at school, but also gain a scholarship for basketball, which saw him kicking off his professional career, which spanned an astonishing 12 years. And not only that, but even more astonishing in my mind, he also went through 9 knee surgeries during that same time. As he got to the end of that professional career, he started putting energy back into himself with a view of giving back to the world through the form of public speaking. And that set him off in his career, where he's to date spoken to establishments like the NBA, Qantas, and Suncorp. Here today at Verity to talk about his latest book, Going for Gold. Welcome, Eric. Good to see you and good to have you on the show, mate.
Thank you very much.
So, Going for Gold. What is the tagline for the book again? Just remind me.
Going for gold, living your personal best.
Fantastic. Well, let's start with that. So what set you off on the journey to actually write the book, and also who's it aimed towards?
Well, actually, in 2012, I actually started to write the book. But I did what most people normally do, is talk yourself out of a good idea because of excuses. And it wasn't until 2020 when COVID hit. And it was probably the lowest period of my life. A 37-year marriage breakup. 85% of my income was taken away because the borders were closed, because I do travel around the world speaking. I gained 35 pounds, anxiety, depression, and feeling as if there was no hope.
That wasn't in the bio. Wow. That in itself is a journey just there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other thing about it was on November 26, 2020, I turned 60 years of age. I know what you're thinking. You can't be 60, right?
I was looking forward to that anyway.
Thank you very much. And I moved into my new facility, which is a townhouse. And I was sitting in there and I was thinking, your entire life, you have been kicked to the curb and told what you can't do. It's a defining moment in your life. You got 2 choices. Feel sorry for yourself, be a victim, or kick yourself in the butt and look what's ahead. So I decided to take out that manuscript and finish off the book. And in the book, I've just chronologically put the things that I needed to do to get myself out of the funk, to get me into thrive mode. And here I am now talking to you, and brother, I'm thriving.
Fantastic. So was it COVID that, I guess, the journey that you went through, reshaping your thoughts in your own mind, that then made you go, okay, well, I've got to share this with the rest of the world, and the best way of doing it is through this book, which you already had mostly written, I'd imagine, at that stage?
No, actually, it wasn't mostly written. It was maybe like a quarter written. But what I went through with COVID, it just unlocked all of the things that I knew that I needed to do to get out of this. And talking to a lot of my friends, on Facebook or in America, and they were telling me some of the things that were happening into their lives, marriage breakdown, suicide, mental stress, loss of finance. Hey, that's me. That's what I'm going through. So if I'm going through that and I'm a motivational speaker and I'm supposed to have all the answers, imagine the person out there who maybe doesn't have that kind of mindset that I have. What would it be like if I could give them or share with them some of the things that I'm doing that's helping me? And that's why I wrote the book.
No, well said. Look, mental health is something we'll talk about in a minute, but it's certainly something that's come up on the radar for most people and most even organizations looking after their staff, due to the fact that we're all working from home and all operate in isolation a lot more through COVID than we have ever before. So we'll get back to that in a minute. I want to ask you, because I read the book and you had an interesting retake on what we all know as SMART goals.
Right.
What was your take on it? And tell us a bit more about that. Yeah.
Look, my entire life, it's always been specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound. And I've seen so many people that start to finish this. And even in my life, I've set some goals and never been able to sustain and get to the end. So I started thinking, what would be a different way to look at SMART goals, and how could you reclaim that? How could an HR manager, or how could a sales manager, or how could a CEO, how could they look at how they could maybe switch or transform the way that companies set goals or the way individuals? And I thought, okay, you can still use the SMART, but what if you change the words? Okay, being an ex-professional athlete, I knew how important it is to really think before you actually set out on the goal. So I thought with the S, seasonal. Your goals need to be approach seasonal, meaning every quarter or every couple of months of the year, look at that goal and say, you know what, maybe we should just refocus or twinkle that, put some more thought into it. And the M, okay, is all about, you know what, it's got to be meaningful. If your goal doesn't scare you, if it doesn't cause you to wake up in the middle of the night and be sweating and feel a sense of euphoria, if it doesn't make you look forward to getting up the next day, and when you tell somebody your goal and they just go, oh, that sounds good, then really, you're not going to really push yourself, okay? And A, oh my goodness. A, it's got to be big, man. It's got to be audaciously big. It's got to be so big that it's got to actually scare you to the point, And R, come on, man. You know what the R is, don't you?
You tell me, I'm not sure.
Come on, you know what the R is.
Realistic, I thought it was?
No, not realistic. Come on, not realistic. You got to be reflective.
Ah, okay.
What does reflective mean? It means you have to think about all of the things, good and bad, that's going to come along as you're on the journey. Before you start that goal, you have to think about, who do I have to stay away from? What things I should not be putting into my body? What are type of things I should be doing? How much reading should I be doing? Like think about all the things that you to make the body and the mind ready to tackle the challenge. And the last one, time honored. You got to honor your time.
What do you mean?
Okay, so when you're going for a goal, every second, every minute, every week, every month matters. So you have to honor the minutes, the seconds, the months, the weeks that you have. You have to make sure that the time you're putting into are productive. Don't waste your time doing the things that are not going to give you the good results. So when you honor your time, chances are you're going to spend more time doing the good stuff than you are going to doing the bad stuff.
It's interesting you use the word honor, so that gives me to think two things straight away. So respect the time that you have, and celebrate the time that you have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And celebrate the wins. No matter how big the wins are, even if they're that small, celebrate those because they're all a part of the build-up to get to the end.
You said something there before, and I won't get the exact wording, but you got me thinking, be careful who you spend the time with. I think it was when you mentioned reflect.
Yeah. Reflect. Yeah. So the whole reflection, so you're going to start your goal, okay? Before you put the time into the goal, one of the major things that people do is they go and just tell everybody. And when you tell the wrong people what you're attempting to do, most of the time they come back with a negative response. Or they say, why would you want to be doing that? Oh, that's a lot of work. Why would you want to do that? If you limit the amount of negativity that you're getting when you start your journey, chances are you're going to tell the right people who are going to support you, and it's going to get you off to a start.
You're right, and it goes back to the whole mental health piece, right? So the biggest asset that we've all got in our lives is the space between our ears.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly being bombarded with everything from advertising, comments from friends, the news, et cetera, and especially during COVID, there was a lot of negativity out there. So what I took out of what you said is safeguarding that space, being our biggest asset to get the outcome that we want.
Right. With mental health, when you admit to yourself that there are some triggers that actually trigger you into that dark space, when you can identify those triggers, and as soon as those triggers come, you counter that with something positive or switch the conversation in your head about something that's more pleasant or more happy, it kind of counterbalances so that you sort of feel a little bit better about yourself, and then you can go out and you can start your day.
I love it. So one of the things you mentioned earlier as well got me thinking, one of our leadership coaches at Verity, Grant Dwarf from Exec Force, he talked about during COVID, planning had to be 24/7.
Right.
So every 24 hours, you need to be planning and replanning 7 days ahead. And a lot of what you said there before, and again, is what I think is what you were saying towards the start of SMART goals kind of goes to that as well. Seasonal, that's what it was. So thinking seasonally, and so in business, we set goals annually or targets or whatever you want to call them, and then we tend to review them each quarter.
Not enough.
Bingo. I was just going to say, it sounds like it, right? And there's a personal side of things as well on top of that, which kind of lends itself to seasonal as well.
Yeah. My thoughts on that is anyone who's going through a hard time or going through some difficulties or some challenges, what you need to do is you need to actually have a really good routine. And your routine, yes, you might have to start it where it has to be scripted. It has to be in front of you. It has to be something that you have to connect to on a daily basis. Because once you have that routine and you get that down pat, it's not a routine anymore. You know what it is now, right? It's a habit. You breathe, you blink, you brush your teeth, you shower. You do that without thinking, right? So I liken it to muscle memory. So I'll give you an example. So a kid challenged me to shoot 3-point shots at a school a couple weeks ago. I'm 60 years of age. I haven't shot a ball in 2 years. And he said, listen, I don't
know if I believe that, by the way. In 2 years.
It's on Facebook.
Is that right?
Oh,
but 2 years ago since the last time?
Yeah, I haven't shot a basketball, right?
Okay.
So he challenges me. I haven't picked up the ball. So I said to him, okay, we'll shoot. First one to 3 will win. I hit 3 in a row. Place goes crazy. He says to me, how did you do that? And I said, because when I was your age, I shot 1,000 jump shots every single day, all the way into the day I retired. So every time I pick up the ball, my mind, my body is in tune with the shot. It just comes because I've conditioned and programmed. Same thing with where we are right now. If you have a routine and you do it over and over and over again, then it just happens without you thinking.
Totally agree.
Which eliminates stress.
Totally agree. No, well said, mate. Fantastic advice. So one of the other things that COVID has significantly affected is the way that we interact with each other as human beings, whether it be in a social setting or in a work environment, in all forms of life. And so in my mind, again, looking through that management consulting lens, because this is what I do every day, it's also brought up again the importance of effective leadership. Because as your work environment changes, the leaders have to be in front of that and ahead of the curve as well. So with effective leadership, looking at it through the sporting lens and also the book that you've written as well, what are some of the fundamentals you'd say from your perspective that makes really strong leadership in an organization today?
I work with a lot of big companies and I work with small companies as well, small teams. When we talk about leadership, we talk about the number one, I think, characteristic is that you understanding that leadership is really you lead the ship and you are the ship. Your culture in your organization, in your team, is not going to skyride and take you to get that gold medal and be a championship organization until you yourself understand that you have to have a couple of characteristics that are really, really important. Number one, compassion. Compassion to understand that everyone in your team is at a different space, at a different place in their life with their mindset. So therefore, you have to meet them where they are. Don't meet them where you expect them to be. My coach.
Can you go back there for a second?
Yeah.
Meet them where they are. Don't meet them where you expect them to be, because that's quite profound.
So as a coach, because I've done a lot of coach. As a coach, sometimes you meet someone and they might say, "Look, I'm a CEO. I'm making X amount of dollars. I've got a boat and I've got a yacht and I've got all this kind of stuff and I'm fairly successful." And you would expect that person on an emotional and mental level to be strong and to be capable. So you might come at them in a way that you feel that they can handle, but maybe they've had relationship problems. Or maybe there's some stuff happening outside their life that has dented their confidence. Maybe they're holding on to something in their past that's keeping them from showing passion that they might have it. So you got to come to them and find out where they are. You have to coach them up so they can get to the level when then you can say, right, at this level, you're going to be able to help our organization. So compassion and empathy has to be the number one source of how you coach. But do you have that in it yourself?
Well said. And if you don't, but again, going back to that whole self-reflection piece.
Correct.
It's like the whole adage of fit your own mask first. And as a leader, we often forget about that, to make time for ourselves and create some white space is another thing we talk about. So that we can fit our own mask, be ready to then give to others as well, because it's hard to give when you haven't got much to give yourself.